First, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity, and to all the Akim that's pushing this word out on highways and byways, which I want to continue to do is push this word. But like everything else, I have to check in with the LA camp, and so that's a reason for the transitioning of I didn't have the proper rights to the GMS name, but I'm still going to cite my sources, which is what I do at the beginning of the videos, just like anybody else would. That it is the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, because, of course, before I came into this truth fully, I was just a great gatherer, if you will, trying to establish what's going on, looking at end-time events and how it fulfills Bible prophecy. And, for the longest, I thought I was a Christian, but something was differing with me, and it just, as I got more and more deeper into the Word, it's just the Word itself started differing with everything I'd been taught, and it's like, eventually, the Holy Spirit took over me. I was just doing, sharing videos, re-uploading them, and, having my video in between within Revelation times. And then, the Spirit came over me and said, by the way, those Khazars, the Zionists that are in Israel now are not the real Jews, that the real Jews came out of the African nations and were sold as slaves, that the Hebrew Israelites, the Jews in particularly, but all 12 tribes, I said that, the real Israelites are in captivity and still are in captivity till this day. They came on slave ships and were traded here. You call them black people. Oh boy, that got I lost a lot of followers over that because it's like, well, how can you, this whole thing about black people being the real Israelites, and then I just kept on studying, and then I found GMS Toronto, and that was a Great Millstone camp, and then eventually would learn from Apostle Tahar and others, and it's like, man, it just reconfirmed everything, that not only were the real Jews, which is the tribe of Judah, the southern kingdom, were black, but also the Most High himself was black. Oh, well, that totally disproved, because I'd often said this, I've had visions of, the morning star, which is Yahweh Shai himself, coming, but I never seen his face because I didn't quite know what he had looked like. But then once GMS Toronto had broken it down, and then I took one of these cameras and I broke it down, and I said, you see, the Most High is a dark-skinned man with white woolly hair. That there really is no such thing as black, and that black is just a byword. And I just kept noting more and more. So that's why I always cite the sources. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who have taught this truth with sincerity, because you do want to cite the sources of where you got your information from. So I'm just waiting to hear back from the LA camp, and, like everything else, of course I want the backing. I want to check in proper, because, of course this thing's bigger than me. It ain't even about me. It's about the Most High himself, who's been revealing his secrets to his servants, And, of course, like everything else, I've always been taking this up another notch, Now I'm teaching on the streets as well. But it's much better if I have the backing. No, I'm going to still teach on the streets and all that, just that I cannot use the GMS banner until I officially become a GMS member. But I'm still going to keep doing what I must, just, and that's the beginning part. But the most of all, though, this Christianity, you can't call it a counterfeit because it has to but you want to use that term in the essence that it's fake, it's bogus, that it's, you know, pretty much, it's all based upon lies, you know. You got these so-called white people, Edomites, you know, pretended to be like the Most High, you know, that, you know, they covered the faces and the judges thereof, you know, pretending to be the saints, you know. Like if you go to a Pentecostal church, they'll even use the term saint, which saint means Israelites, you know, and they claim to be the saints, they claim to be the brothers and sisters, you know, and that's another thing is that, yeah, that we do have sisters in this thing, but sisters don't teach. You don't see any Joyce Meyers in these camps, do you? You know, do you see any? No, you don't see, because this is a job of the males, and that the only way, you know, for a female to come into this, yeah, they can make videos and all that, but they're not going to be on the streets teaching, but they're going to be backing, you know, because they're learning everything from us, the men. The 144,000 are the men, but the 1/3 is where the females come in, the wives come in, and we all come into this truth. Like Acts chapter 2 does. We all come in one accord. We're all singing the same song. You know, we're echoes of that song, just like Revelation chapter 14 tells us. So we're, you know, this is the new song. Because before that, I just told you, you know, raised on Christianity, you know, raised so-called white, you know, but, you know, I knew one thing for sure, that image of Cesare Borgia, man, that was a portrait of somebody else, a.k.a. David Rothschild, you know, who's the Cesare Borgia reincarnate. You know, that's not what the Most High looked like. And yet it tells you right there in Revelation chapter 1, verses 13 through 17, it goes into full description on what John saw. He saw the Son of Man. Clothed, you know, he had a golden girdle from his, you know, and the garments from, you know, his body all the way down to his feet. His feet were like undefined brass, as if burned through a furnace. His hair was white like wool, and his eyes a flame of fire. Man, that's not even close to this Cesare Borgia image. So you see, to call it a counterfeit, it's not even that, because of course, you know, a counterfeit would look something like the original. And you're trying to pass it off. But that's what these Edomites try to do. They try to pass themselves off. But man, they don't look like. And I know what a lot of people are going to say, because, of course, we confuse in the faces. You know, we got the worst curse of all, because we look like the other nations. So we look like the Edomites and the Moabites and the Ammonites and the Elamites, you know, and the the Ishmaelites, you know. We're going to look like the other nations, the confusion of faces. But we still originate back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, we're still a part of the 12 tribes, and you see, that's what a lot of I mean, they want to come down hard on us, of course, because, you know, when confusion of faces, people like myself and others, there are many more like us, like me. When we come against Esau, the so-called white man, we're prophesying against him. You know, this really hurts their whole narrative of the black Hebrew Israelites, you know. Because this ain't a racial, cultural thing. No, this is pretty much Yasha'Allah, Israel coming back. We're coming back. We're waking up as to who we are, and we're reclaiming our identity. Our identity was stolen from us, and you know, for a long time, you know, they were teaching plantation Christianity, and that's just it, though. That's how the white man keeps us all in slavery. But it's falling apart now, and they're doing everything they can to try to bring revival. You know, doing these so-called Christian movies like The Shack, and you know, that other one, Courageous, and all that, to try to show Christianity, because they still want to push off Jesus, which is really David Rothschild, which is really Cesare Borgia, which is really a homosexual, a bisexual, a transgender, because, yeah, that's what Christos means, you know, that transgenderism, because it all goes back to the ancient religion. And, of course, Christianity has been used as a unifier. You know, that the one that they claim to be the Most High, Jesus Christ, is this unifier, that he's for all nations and he's for all people. You know, and then they twist our scriptures of all nations, kindreds, and tongues and try to adapt it into their own, you know, to push their Christianity, you know, and say that, you know, he's a unifier. But yet, the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai tells you that I have not come to unify, that I pretty much come as a sword to divide. Don't think that I came here in peaceably. You know, he didn't come here to bring peace. He came here to divide, to separate the true believers, a.k.a. the true Israelites, in the essence of his elect. Because, yes, you know, many know that they're Israelites, but they're not a part of the elect. You know, and so we're not looking for unification. We're just looking to reach the whole full elect. So here I am, having received this in, you know, Reading, quite a distance from both San Francisco and L.A., you know, but just want to check in proper, you know. Like everything else, it's quite a distance away, because California is a very long state away from the nearest camp. Of course, Seattle is also quite a bit of distance from California, where I'm at, which Reading is just right, you know, as you get closer to the Oregon border. You can get to Oregon in about an hour and a half or so. Hour and a half, 2 hours. So, you know, we're not far from Oregon. But like everything else, though, and I've said this before, though, if everybody who's been receiving us, the elect, we're teaching, man, we'd get out of here a lot more soon, and that's what I'm trying to do, you know. Now, you know, because I've received this prophecy quite a while back, you know, and just it was time to step it up a notch, and then my YouTube channels got taken down, and I had to bring them up again, you know. So, you know, ESAU doesn't want Confusion of Faces teaching. So, you know, I am Confusion of Face and been brought into this fold, and that's what it meant. Instead of all nations, kindreds, and tongues, he was talking about Gentiles, which are the Hebrew Israelite foreigners, you know. And again, I always cite my sources, you know. The sources are the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching the true doctrine, breaking it down and everything else. So again, you know, so-called white man wants to push us counterfeit Christianity to try to combat the confusion of faces that are now teaching, because it destroys the entire narrative of, you know, the black Hebrew Israelites, you know, the label they want to throw on us. And also, you know, the other thing is, though, is that when we confusion of faces speak, you know, and again, you know, it also blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, you know, the real Hebrew Israelites, when we speak here, you know, we let you know, if this spirit resides in you, it doesn't matter what you look like, you're an Israelite, you know. If you're understanding this and you're getting this, this all makes sense, and you're not, you know, trying to argue anything else, you know. I mean, I do understand that there's sometimes fair argument over certain things, but, you know, the overall, and you're not arguing this and you're getting it, then you're an Israelite, you know. We run into confusion of faces all the time on the streets, you know. And so, you know, just, again, you know, there's a lot more of us, but of course, we know that the elect is only 1/3 of Yasha but we are scattered throughout the 4 quarters of the earth, and we're waking up as to who we are. So, you know, again, you know, Esau is desperate, and so we know that we're getting closer. So hopefully this has been edifying, and as we're trying to reach the hopeful elect. Shalom.